Welcome back to this side of 40. This is your girl Lou. And this is the update from my drop 10 before summer. So basically, my challenge to myself was to use 10 eyeshadow palettes that I had never used in my collection for a week each. I have been at it for 9 weeks now, and currently I'm on my ninth palette. I've used 8 of my palettes. I have the ninth week palette into my 10th week palette, and this project pan is due to go until June 1st. So basically what I'm going to do is the last week, because the last couple weeks I'm going to actually play with these palettes together and give you guys my pros and cons and everything. Every week I tell you how I feel about the one I'm currently working with, and then we go from there. So currently I'm working with Afrique. That is what I have on today. This is the first time I've ever had a silver eyeshadow that really showed up on my skin, as well as it played well with others. I definitely know I could use this particular silver eyeshadow with any of my other brands of eyeshadows, and it will show up, and I can use it as an inner corner highlight and on the lid like I do today, and it will be perfectly fine. Now, out of all the colors in here that because I work with the whole palette now, I've played with them all. As you can tell, you can't even tell I used them other than this gold here. I can say for $25, because I didn't get it on sale, it's worth it. Would I repurchase any of the palettes I have from Juvias Place? Definitely. That was the one I played with this last month. So let's get into the next one that we did play with this last month. I did play with Hank and Henry in Living Color palette. This one retails for $17.99. Again, I got this one in a box. The Juvias Place palettes I bought, or my kids or Ricky bought for me, but this came in one of my subscription boxes, and y'all see them dips and debits? Honey, if I didn't have this going on, this definitely would be the palette I panned. And it just, to me, it's like the perfect color story for a girl who likes to wear colorful eyeshadows. And I definitely am here for it. Definitely would repurchase this if and when I ran out of it. Now, the next palette that I used was the Tribes palette. Now, this palette right here, this color story speaks to me. To me, this is spring. This is spring going into early summer. It is all the colors that you would need to use as a girl who loves color. And the thing I love about it the most is there are no blacks or blues. So it's just a warm palette. Blues and blacks remind me of winter or fall. So that is why I was in love with that. Then the next palette I used during this last time was my Coastal Silk palette that my bug got me. Now these were individual pan pots, and I got them when they're on sale for 75 cents each. However, usually when you build your own thing, be prepared to spend like $30 to $40. No big deal. Out of this palette, you can really, and I'm going to open her up for you guys because this is my own personal Z palette. You can see how I was loving on these oranges and the golds, these purples and greens, these two browns here. They're my perfect transition shades. And then right here, this is Melanie circuit right here. They are so easy to work and play with. I definitely would repurchase more of Coastal Scents eyeshadows because they are fun to work with and easy to work with. Now let's go into what's the last palette that I have to get into working with, and we're going to talk about it, and I'm just going to give you guys my opinion and let you know where I stand. So I have not played with my palette by Fenty. I had the original Fenty palette, which was all toppers. One of my coworkers said she wanted to try it, and then she gave me the money. I paid for it because that worked for her, but that palette did not work for me. However, this one has mattes and shimmers, so this will be the palette I play with next week. I definitely am excited about playing with Fenty, just because it's the one palette that, for me, that's my highest high-end palette company that I'm working with currently, like out of everything I own other than the London & Co. I definitely can see myself working with it. I'm gonna have to build some looks off of it, so that's really cool. Now let's talk about the palettes that we used in the past. Sweater Weather and the Balm. Those two palettes, I'll be honest, these are the two palettes, if I'm going to travel, I'm going to travel with. Because these two palettes, I know I could come up with several day or night looks, and they would be perfectly fine for me. Now, the Juvias Place Nubian and Masquerade palettes, these two ladies here, definitely are on the top of my list. All of my Juvias Place palettes for me are at the top of my list, because I can say with these colors, I did kind of come up with some staining of skin on my lids, and for me that's a big deal, because usually that don't happen. So that for me is a sign, it's a telltale that she's gonna play well on my lid, she's gonna hold on all day, and I don't have to overly build my concealer for her to work for me. Now, last and not least, is the London & Co. palette. So let's talk about it, and let's go over some things that I've learned since our debacle. This was the first week's palette that I worked with, and I worked with her first because she was the most expensive eyeshadow I have on hand currently, and for $65 I was expecting a whole lot out of her. And if you look, I did give her a lot of playtime. Currently, after like putting her away and having time to think and really focusing on these other palettes, I'll say one of two things. Her fallout is not that bad. $65 was the reason why I was expecting so much more out of her. If she had been, let's say, $40 or $35, I would have had a different opinion of her products. However, I don't foresee myself ever buying any of their cosmetics. If I and when I get back to having subscriptions, I definitely would accept some of her products, because I feel like she just got a bad rap because of it. I'm not saying that I got a knockoff or any of that. I'm saying that for me personally, I feel like I need to play with her. So I definitely, after the week of Fenty, I'm going to go back into playing with her, and I'm going to pair her up with my Coastal Scents palette, because I figure 75 cents next to $65, because each of these are 75 cents. And I'm going to do the math and just kind of come up with a look and let you guys know, sorry guys, how I'm feeling at that point. Because I think that would change how I feel. Most of the problem that I was having with the London & Co. or London & Co. or & London, the problems I was having with it was because their matte shades or their transition shades were very, very light, and they would be good for fairer skin, not so much for me. So there was only a couple of the matte shades in here that I could actually use. So I'm gonna see if I pair it up with this, if that'll change how I feel about it. I am very optimistic about that, because I would hate to have something in my collection that I couldn't really enjoy. All of the shimmers that were in here are amazing. I just have an issue with the matte shades and not having enough that will work with my skin tone. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the link below. And yes, I still have that 10 pounds that I lost off. So, see you next time on this side of 40.